So you should have already watched poetry, prose, and drama video and taken notes in your ELA notebook. Now we're going to do some pages in our iReady workbook. So the learning target says, knowing how dramas and poems are structured will help you better understand what they mean. Read. Dramas and poems have structures that organize what they say and help the reader understand what they mean. Dramas are divided into acts. Each act tells a main part of the drama. Acts are often divided into scenes, which show different times and places. Poems are often organized in stanzas or groups of lines that have something in common. Examining how such features work together can help you understand not just how a text is structured, but why it is structured that way. Read this poem. Notice how the lines are organized into stanzas. Why do you think the poet organized the lines this way? So this poem is called From the Months, and it's by Sarah Coleridge. January brings the snow, makes our feet and fingers glow. February brings the rain, falls the frozen lake again. March brings breezes loud and shrill, stirs the dancing daffodil. So we have stanzas. This is a stanza, 2 stanzas, 3 stanzas. We have rhyme because snow and glow, rain again. That's not a very strong rhyme. Shrill and daffodil. We have repetition because it repeats the word brings. January brings, February brings, March brings. So we have several different elements in this short poem here. So we are going to first compare and contrast poetry and drama on page 281. So we have drama only on the left, poems only on the right, and then what they both have in common on the left. So, in the middle, sorry about that. So a drama has acts. They tell a main part of the drama. The scenes are divided to divide the acts into specific times and places. That's what we read on page 280. You can write that in your own words, or you can write it in these words. Now, if we look at a poem only, poem has a stanza to organize groups of lines that have some kind of similarity. So the stanzas have something in common. It's like a paragraph with something in common. Now, how are dramas and poems alike? That's already filled in for us. The features organize what the text says. The features help the reader understand what the text means. The next part says use words, lines, and stanzas to describe the structure of the months. Explain why the poet chose the structure she did. So the poem, The Months, is what we just read on page 280. And they want us to use the words, lines, and stanzas to describe why she organized it in that way. So each stanza, I would say, had 2 lines in it. And each stanza was about a different month. If we go back and look at our poem again, here we have 1 stanza with 2 lines, 1 stanza with 2 lines, 1 stanza with 2 lines. So there's 3 stanzas, and each stanza has 2 lines. And she probably organized it that way to give us a brief description of a different month. Each time we have a new stanza, we have a new month. So you can write that in your own words. Here is a sample answer that you could write down. Each stanza uses 2 lines to describe a month of the year. The structure helps the reader know that each stanza is about a different month. All right, now we are going to look on page 282. So on page 282, we have a drama or a play. Our closed reader habit says, when you reread the drama, underline details in scene 1 that feel suspenseful and details in scene 2 that bring an end to that suspense. So make sure you're looking for those as we read. Something suspenseful is like dangerous or scary. And then it ends the suspense in scene 2. So the title of our drama is A Very Tall Tale. we first have a cast of characters. So we have Todd, a 5th grade student, tells us the character's name, and it tells us, describes it, a 5th grade student, and Sally, his older sister. So we don't know how old Sally is, but we know she's older than 5th grade. So scene 1, we have some stage directions here, or some description of this scene, of the setting. A hallway outside a door marked principal. So they're at a school, and they're sitting outside the principal's office. Tall windows line the hall. 2 children sit on chairs. Who do we think the 2 children are? Probably Todd and Sally. The boy seems calm. The girl seems restless and upset. So who do we think is in trouble here? So scene 1. So now I'm not going to say Sally, Todd, Sally, Todd. I'm not going to read that part. I'm just going to read it in different voices. And she jumps up from her chair, paces back and forth, then stops. So those are stage directions that you can visualize her doing this. How can you just calmly sit there, Todd? I told you that you'd get in trouble if you kept making things up. You'd better tell the truth to Miss Johnson. But Sally, I'm not making things up. I keep seeing a dinosaur outside the school. I'm not sure, but I think it's an Apatosaurus. And it's hiding from everyone else? How can this be? She drops back in her chair, crosses her arms, and sighs. The door opens, and Todd stands up. I wish I knew. He stops facing the windows, where a huge shadow that looks like a small head on a long neck moves past and then disappears. Todd goes into the principal's office. So, Todd keeps saying that he's seeing dinosaurs. It's apparently hiding from everyone else because no one else gets to see this dinosaur. And as he goes to enter the principal's office, there's a shadow with a small head on a huge neck. So that is where the suspense is, because we're seeing something outside the window, some shadow. We're led to believe that it could possibly be the dinosaur. So make sure you underline the suspenseful part. Now we're going to move to scene 2. Scene 2 is Todd's classroom on a 2nd story of the school. Sally stands with her back to the window. Todd faces them. So Todd's looking out the window and Sally can't see what's out the window. Sally, shaking her head. I can't believe you wouldn't change your story for Miss Johnson. As she speaks, the head and neck of a huge dinosaur rise in the window behind her. I've had enough of your tall tales for one day. She storms out of the room. The dinosaur's head comes through an open window. It stretches its long neck toward Todd and lowers its head. Todd cautiously pets the dinosaur's head, which moves under his hand as if he likes it. Well, I guess I'll be seeing you tomorrow. He picks up his backpack and races after his sister as the dinosaur looks on. So this dinosaur turns out to be a friend, or not a dangerous dinosaur. So when the head and the neck rise on the window behind Sally, that's still building up suspense. But when the dinosaur comes through the open window and Todd is petting it, that is when the suspense is ending, because we know that the dinosaur is no longer a threat. So on page 283, we are going to tell how those two scenes work together to complete the story. So let's start with scene 1. Where is scene 1? Scene 1 is outside the principal's office, right? It's got long, tall windows that line the hallway outside the principal's office. So hallway lined with windows outside the principal's office. You can put that in your own words. What happens in scene 1? Sally accuses Todd of making things up, but he insists he keeps seeing a dinosaur, and a dinosaur figure or shadow passes the window. Those are the things that happen in scene 1. There is not actually a scene in the principal's office. Todd enters the principal's office, but we don't know what actually happens in the principal's office, because the next scene is not in the principal's office. The next scene is in Todd's classroom, and it's on the second floor. Again, it has windows there. So scene 2, Todd's classroom, second story. I would add the tall windows, even though it doesn't say it here, I would put that there. What happens in scene 2? Well, Sally's still upset at him, and he's still sticking to his story, and the dinosaur sticks his head in, and Todd actually gets to pet him. So Sally is upset and leaves. The dinosaur puts its head through the window, and Todd pets it. He tells the dinosaur he'll see it tomorrow. So now we're led to believe that Todd and the dinosaur are friends with one another. So we're going to take this information that we have filled in on this chart, and we're going to answer the question how the two scenes work together on page 286. So on page 286, explain how scenes 1 and 2 work together to produce a complete story about Todd, Sally, and the dinosaur. Use details from both scenes and your chart to support your response. So in scene 1, Sally's upset. She's frustrated with Todd for making up stories, but Todd's like, no, I really see a dinosaur. In scene 2, Sally is still upset, so upset that she actually storms off, and Todd is still like, nope, I see a dinosaur, and he comes in the window, and Todd actually pets it. So once, we don't actually know it's a dinosaur until scene 2. Even in scene 1, when we see the shadow outside the principal's office, it could be a shadow of something else. We don't actually know it's the dinosaur until scene 2, and we know it's not threatening because Todd pets it. So that is one response. Here is another response that you could, or another sample answer. Scene 1 introduces Todd and his sister, Sally. She thinks he is making up stories, but he insists he sees an Apatosaurus. At the end of scene 1, a shadow moves past the window. Although it is the shape of the dinosaur, the audience is not sure of this, producing some suspense. In scene 2, Sally leaves, but the dinosaur reappears. This time, the audience learned that it is a real Apatosaurus, as it puts its head through the second-story window and Todd pets it. This resolves the suspense, bringing the story to a definite conclusion. So you can use my sample answer, you can use this sample answer, or you can put it in your own words. Your word study for the week is vowel alterations, long to short, like telly changes to television, convene, convention, grateful, gratitude. The ending on the word makes the long vowel change to a short vowel sound. This needs to be glued down in your word study book, not in your ELA book, but in your word study book, and you need to make sure that you do 4 activities with the words this week.